So, lenses. Lenses. Okay, so I think Peter McKinnon really went over lenses extremely well, and after watching his video like a billion times, actually no, I probably did it just less than 1,000,000 times, seeing that he has just a little bit over 1,000,000 views. So you can pretty much accredit me with almost all the views on his video. No, but really, I got done watching Peter McKinnon's video and I was like, what the, seriously dude? Like, I want to do a lens video, but you cover pretty much everything. But at the same time, I don't think he got everything right. And no, let me put a caveat on that one. It's not that you didn't get everything right, it's that this was your personal view. It's not the same for all photographers and whatnot, and I definitely have a different point of view, so hear me out on this one. So today we're gonna be talking about lenses, and the lenses that I'm gonna use, or the lenses that I do use in my photography, go as such.
24mm f1.4. 50mm f1.2, 85mm f1.2, 100mm macro f2.8, 16 to 35mm f2.8 broken, 24 to 70mm f2.8, 2 times doubler. Yeah, I know it's not a lens, but it goes in my lens arsenal anyways. And the 70 to 200 f2.8.
So we're going to talk about them in our prime lenses first, and then our zoom lenses, and then the add-ons to our lenses, which will just be an extender. First one I work with is a 24mm f1.4. Right now, that's on the camera right here. So I'm not gonna pull it out and show you guys, but you'll see it in the B-roll footage and whatnot. That's been a beautiful lens for me, with one little detail. I haven't really gotten it super sharp on the focus, so I'm playing around with it right now and I'm cranking up the sharpness in the camera a little bit to see if I can get it to work out for me. But it just seemed like I wasn't getting enough sharpness there. Usually people get that with their faster glass. And when we talk about faster glass, like many photographers have said before me, faster glass is lenses with a wider aperture. So an f1.2, an f1.4, or an f1.8. Those are considered to be fast glass, and they call it that, like everyone says, because you're able to shoot faster at lower light. I call it fast glass because it's able to capture more light quicker, but so far I'm really liking it. I like the aspect ratio as far as using it for vlogging and stuff, so I would definitely recommend something like a 24 for vlogging. Traditionally I used a 16 to 35, and we'll get into that one later, but I've switched over to this one for reasons that if you watched the last video, or actually 2 videos ago, when we were taking the Zorby ball and sending it down the half pipe out of Buck Hill, I took a pretty nasty spill and it didn't fare too well. So let's move on. 24mm, love that lens so far, and the 1.4 aperture in it allows me to shoot it at low light. Now the next thing is the 50mm 1.2. Now I love the 50mm 1.2, it is my favorite lens. This is the 50mm 1.2. This I call my human eyeball, because the actual physical makeup of this lens mimics the human eye closer than any other lens does. Once again, another caveat to this one. This is on a full frame sensor, because the back part of your eye, the retina area that actually is absorbing all that light, the cones and rods and how they're made up, they're at about 32 millimeters in diameter. That would make a 35mm diameter full frame sensor to be the even equivalent to it. Now, if you're talking about a crop frame sensor, that I would recommend a 35mm, which I don't have right now because I only shoot on full frame sensors. So the 50mm is what I like to use. And the reason, like I said, I like to use it because it goes to a 1.2. Because my theory of neural photography is I shoot the way the human eye sees, I compose the way the human body naturally ingests visual stimuli, and then I post-process it so that it can be new and novel to bypass the lizard brain but yet seem native so it's easily adapted by the neocortex. Now that sounds like a lot, but it's why I use the 50mm the most, because this looks most natural to the human brain. And we can get into that a little bit more later. After that one, I have the 85mm f1.2. Now the 85mm f1.2 is a gorgeous piece of glass. Like, look at how much glass is in there. That is massive. I mean, it's insane. I wish I had an eyeball with this much glass to it. It absorbs so much light. It is so beautiful on the bokeh. I can't even say enough about it. It's so great. It is difficult to work with sometimes because it does cut down your field of view quite considerably from the 50mm. So it's one of those things that you just kind of got to play with and get used to, but I absolutely love this. It's great for portraits and everything like that. Now the next prime lens that I use, this is the 100mm macro. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous prime lens, and I recommend any videographer get it. The reason is because of the hybrid image stabilization system. Makes it so stable when you're recording video. It's absolutely insane. It also has a really cool focal length at 100mm. It's telephoto enough that you could be using it for sports. It has an insanely close field of focus so that you're able to get really close to your objects and stuff like that, so that you can make them really, really big in this 100 macro lens. Now those are the prime lenses that I use. Now let's move on to the zoom lenses that I use. And the first one is considered to be an ultra wide angle zoom, and that one is the 16 to 35. Now, I didn't use this one that much when I was shooting photography because I felt like it was just too wide, and on a full frame sensor, I felt like it looked kind of wonky. It didn't really seem natural to me, or it didn't really seem natural to my human brain to be shooting with anything over, or I should say wider than a 24mm. And close situations and stuff like that, and small rooms, this is definitely a lens that is very, very beneficial. It makes everything look really, really big when you're in a small area. It's a really interesting lens. For vlogging, it's an awesome lens because I'm able to run this camera, the 6D Mark II, and then I'm able to put the image stability all the way up to enhance, which is like its third level of image stability, which really cuts down on a lot of the shakes, makes everything like buttery smooth, and have this thing cranked all the way out to 16, and it still looks like I'm working with like a 24. So it gives me a lot of room to work with. Like I said, when I was out shooting in the half pipe, this took a tumble. It was attached onto the camera. I was running backwards down the half pipe. And I know this sounds like a really smart idea to do, but I was running backwards down on the half pipe shooting video, and I ended up slipping on a patch of ice. It was like, boom, came down, smacked it. And it was okay for a while. And I thought we were just gonna be talking about like a broken lens hood or whatnot. But what ended up happening was I tried to do a whip transition after that, and when I did that whip transition, I didn't have my Manfrotto base locked to the Manfrotto ball joint on my Joby Gorilla Pod, and it ended up spinning the camera right off, landed on the ground.
Okay, so if you just saw that fall there, that was the 16 to 35 just taking a digger.
And that's when the whole thing just popped apart. So the damage that we looked at on this one, it's actually just broken from this upper section. So what I found out is that I probably can actually get this upper section replaced, or I can probably even replace it myself. And I haven't broken any leads or any of the wires or whatnot, so I think I'm pretty good as far as being able to repair it myself. Now this is my favorite lens as far as the most versatile. This lens was the first L series lens that I bought, the first really, really nice lens that I bought. And that was this baby right here. This is the 24 to 70 f2.8. This is the Series 1, not the Series 2. The Series 2 is a little bit faster, but as far as the quality goes, it's pretty much the same. Now, the reason why I like this is that it gives you the most usable range, especially when you're starting out. When you go all the way out to 24, it's not so wide that it creates distortion on the outside of the lens. And when you go out to 70, it's nice and zoomed in, gives you a great bokeh. It's an f2.8, which allows you to shoot at low light really well. Some people like to go with the 24 to 105 with the image stability in it, and they try to say that it's the same or is as good as this. It's not. They're different. It's apples and oranges. I like this one because I really, really, really want that f2.8 aperture. I really, really want that nice creamy bokeh. You don't get that with the 4.0. You do get the image stabilization so you can shoot at a lower shutter speed, but that's not really what I want. You know, if I'm shooting fast action at low light, I need to have a wider open aperture. I need to be able to gather more light in. And that's what you get with this. Now, zooming in from there, we have Bah! The 70-200 f2.8, Series 1 also. All my glass is old. I usually have the Series 1 of almost everything, and the reason for that is because I've been in the business for about 23 years. I bought my lenses all along this journey, and the thing that's a testament to these lenses is that they're all Series 1 lenses. That really shows you that they hold their value and whatnot, and that's the nice thing about getting a nicer lens. So the 70-200 is absolutely gorgeous and has two different kinds of image stabilization in it, and I went into that one in the 100mm macro lens review. It has what's called shift stabilization, which would be you moving the camera laterally, or it has angular stabilization, which would be as you're rotating the camera around and whatnot. Now this one has it separate, whereas the 100mm macro has it together. That's what makes it the hybrid IS. And that's what's so insanely awesome about that one. The reason why I love this is because it gives you a great zoom. 70-200 is absolutely awesome for sports. It's awesome for almost everything. It's got a great compression to it, which means that it brings the background all the way from back here, boom, and slams it right behind your subject. So if you're shooting on a beach or whatnot, it makes those waves look like they're coming right behind the models. So I absolutely love that one. I definitely recommend people to get it. And if you're gonna get something like the 70-200, I recommend also looking at getting the 2x doubler. The 1.4 I think is kind of useless for me. I mean, if you're gonna get a 24-70, get the 2x doubler, then all of a sudden you go all the way out to 400mm. But the problem with this is it automatically reduces everything down to a 5.6 aperture, which I don't like. Because that 70-200 has a 2.8 aperture, which is gorgeous on the bokeh and everything. So I mean, that's the lens lineup that I'm working with. That's what I absolutely love to use. What I usually get from people is, what should I start out with? What's the first lens that I should use? That one is always a tricky one. Like I said before, if you don't really know what you're getting into, if you don't really know what kind of photography you're gonna do, the 24-70 f2.8 is going to be the most versatile for you. But the problem with this is I believe this one also is a crutch. So the 24-70 is a gorgeous lens. I like it. It is one of my favorite, but not my favorite. And like I said before, my absolute favorite is definitely the 50mm 1.2. The reason why I like this one so much, because like I said before, this one mimics the human eye the best. I mean, literally, this is like the human eye. It's great. It's, wow, that thing is dirty in there. I gotta get this thing cleaned. Okay, so anyways, the physical makeup of this lens, when you look at the maximum opening of your human eye, the maximum contraction of your human eye, the length, like the focal length of it, this matches with the human eye the closest. Now I've gone into this before in my neurophotography video that I did, I think it was video number 1 actually. And if you go back and you look at it, it is titled neurophotography. Don't judge me, because that was my very first video and I really haven't been doing this that long. But if you watch that video and you compare it to this video, worlds of difference. This one makes the world look correct to the human brain when you're shooting photos, when you're shooting video. It's absolutely gorgeous. You don't always want to use this at 1.2. Peter McKinnon was saying that he was having trouble with the focus on this. It always felt kind of soft. That's what happens when you always run it at 1.2. Plus, the one that he was using might have been damaged. I don't know if it was used or if it was new, but brand new out of the box. That's how I bought this one, and it's been gorgeous for me. I've had this one for about 10 years now, and it's been absolutely gorgeous. It's worked out great, never had a problem with it, whatnot. I would go with the 50mm over the 24-70. I would probably not recommend the 85 unless you really had a specific purpose for it. I definitely recommend the 100mm macro if you're shooting video or if you're shooting weddings and you need to get those close-up details and whatnot, definitely a great one. And then if you're shooting any sort of sports or anything like that, you gotta get this 70-200 because this 70-200 is awesome. The 16-35, it's a great lens if you're gonna be shooting and you need wide angle and stuff like that. A lot of people have recommended it for street and whatnot, and it's a great vlogging lens. And it's rather durable because it did take a massive fall there. So I mean, that's what we're looking at as far as our lenses and stuff like that. That's what I have right here. Oh my gosh, okay. Yeah, I think that's basically everything there. If you like these videos, hit that like button down there. If you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button down there and ring that bell if you want to get notifications on when I'm putting up new videos. And to Peter McKinnon, I'm sorry if it seemed like I was dogging on you. I'm really not. I love your stuff. But the lens thing, I got a different opinion. I just do. Anyways, you guys have a nice day. I will see you tomorrow.